One of the most unique aspects of developing a crowdfunded MMO is the need to publicly show the game long before it's really polished. This can be very risky because first impressions certainly matter, so if you reveal it too early, people may have a hard time imagining its potential and will just disregard it as another low-quality MMO. But at the same time, it's necessary to get the word out about the game and periodically show progress to get backers on board to support the project. This is usually a very fine line. And of course, Pantheon is mostly a crowdfunded game, so Visionary Realms has been doing just that for a couple of years now. And in fact, as of the recording of this video, they have streamed the game to the public 16 times. But in my mind, for various reasons, some of these stand out from the rest as crucial turning points in the game's development. So, let's take a look back at the top 5 most important Pantheon developer streams. Number 5, TwitchCon. TwitchCon 2017 was a huge success for Pantheon. It was the first time that the game had actually been demoed in person to the general public, and the reception was very positive. Now, by the way, if you want to check out my in-depth coverage of the convention, I'll provide a link to it in the upper right-hand corner. But overall, TwitchCon gave the team a really good feel for how badly fans of the genre actually want this game. And while they were there, some of this exposure came from a stream that was featured on Twitch's Indie Game Workshop channel. Now, this stream was primarily aimed at people that didn't really know much about the game, so rather than revealing something new to existing backers, they instead introduced the basics of the game, such as group combat, the climate system, and when Ronik accidentally died a few minutes into the stream, we also got a little taste of corpse runs. However, what really puts this stream in my list of the top 5 most important is the fact that it also included the very big announcement that pre-alpha would begin before the end of 2017. Now, fans of the game had of course been looking forward to this announcement for a very long time because it meant that the game wasn't just going to be stuck in development forever. Things were moving forward and people would actually be able to log into the game for real to start providing some very valuable feedback. This was a major milestone for the game. Number 4, the technical art of Pantheon. This is one of very few streams that actually features no combat. This one was a little different and instead showed several examples of how the art, lighting, animations, and other technical aspects of the game had been vastly improved since hiring a new technical artist, Bruno Rhyme. Now, when the game was first announced, most people liked the concept, but it had mainly received some criticism for the graphics looking quite dated, even though it was emphasized that almost all of the art was just placeholder. Because Pantheon is developed using the Unity engine, which allowed them to quickly develop a prototype of the game using placeholder art to show a proof of concept to potential backers. However, even if you give the disclaimer that the art is placeholder, people still usually have a tendency to judge it as if it was the finished product, and can be quickly turned off to it, even though it will eventually be improved. Showing off a game this early is kind of a necessary evil of crowdfunded MMOs. But in this technical art stream, it was a perfect example that even before Pantheon was in pre-alpha, Visionary Realms could really bring the graphics into the 21st century, and that really silenced a lot of the criticism. In this stream, Bruno talked about how he and his team are really looking under the hood of the Unity engine and modifying it to suit their needs for the game, and really push the limits of what the engine is capable of, even beyond what the Unity team themselves thought was even possible. And even still, this is far from the finished product, so with such improvements this early on, you can imagine how much it will continue to improve in the future, and that gives us a lot of hope that Pantheon will be a stunningly beautiful game by launch. Number 3, playing with Jim Lee. In this stream, Visionary Realms met up with the Marvel comic book artist Jim Lee. Now at first this may seem like an unusual connection, but Jim Lee and Brad McQuaid are actually good friends and mutual fans of each other. In fact, Jim was an avid EverQuest player and even illustrated some pieces of EQ fan art, so he was more than happy to try out Pantheon. And since the game is trying to push the genre forward, I also think it's a good idea to expose the game to different types of audiences. So the group adventured through Halnir Caves, which at this point had already been revealed. So this stream was different from most in the past in that it didn't really reveal anything new. But at the same time, I also think that's actually part of what makes it important. Most of the streams before this one were somewhat scripted and very intentional about showing off certain parts of the game, but this stream with Jim Lee felt much more laid back. Not only did they not have any script or specific objectives, but a few of Jim's friends were also in the group, so most of the party really had almost no experience with Pantheon. This allowed us to see how new players learn the game organically and just simply have a lot of fun. Chris and Brad were the only devs in the group, and they intentionally didn't offer much guidance, so we watched the group struggle a bit at first, proving that it is indeed a very challenging game. But we also watched them learn and figure out how to overcome those struggles. That's a really important aspect of the game to show, as pretty much everyone that plays it in the future will have very similar experiences. But even more important is how we could very clearly see that they were just having a great time playing Pantheon. They were chatting, they were laughing, and of course I just have to mention that this stream also brought us the classic moment of Brad going in and getting himself locked in the room with Nashura. And if we're being honest, having fun and making memories with friends in a living world is ultimately what this game is all about. And I think this stream beautifully demonstrated that Pantheon is in fact fun to play. And in my opinion, that's more important than revealing any new race, class, or zone. All of this solidifies this stream's position at number 3. Number 2, featuring CohhCarnage. CohhCarnage is one of the most popular streamers on Twitch, and he also happens to be an avid fan of the EverQuest franchise. So naturally, he's also a big fan of Pantheon. So when Visionary Realms had an opportunity to team up with him and stream the game on his channel, it was a major breakthrough for VR. And even better, he would do it for free, simply because he wanted to support the project. The first stream with Koh took place in December of 2016, and it was massive. It was almost 3 hours of content, and Pantheon almost looked like a completely different game from the last time we saw it. The previous stream was in June 2016, so it appeared that they had made huge strides in only about 6 months. That impressed a lot of people and brought on a whole new wave of excitement surrounding the game. In fact, on a personal note, this was the first stream where I started doing my stream recaps on the forums, because there's just so much information to digest. So I wanted to boil it down for those that might not have the time to sit and watch 3 hours of gameplay. And even if you did, you might miss some things, because this stream revealed new zones, new race models, new classes, working prototypes of the climate, perception, and climbing system, and answered dozens of questions directly from the community. It's probably the biggest single info dump the game has ever had. Because of the success of this stream, Koh has since streamed the game with the devs several more times in front of tens of thousands of people. His excitement for the game is contagious, and many viewers have become pledgers simply because they discovered the game and fell in love with it through CohhCarnage. And that brings us to number 1, the big reveal. I think it makes a lot of sense that the very first stream Visionary Realms did of Pantheon ended up being the most important. It essentially set the precedent for all of the streams to come. This stream proved that the game was not just vaporware. It was actually playable, and even stable, and it looked pretty familiar to fans of EverQuest and Vanguard. So it seemed like if you enjoyed those games, you'd enjoy this one too. Plus, the timing of this stream was just perfect. It's still kind of a mystery if this was intentional or just happy coincidence, but literally the day before this stream aired, Daybreak Games announced that EverQuest Next was cancelled. That means that there were thousands of MMO fans desperately looking for a new world to call home. Then Pantheon came onto the scene, and it really resonated with a lot of those MMO orphans. In fact, this was actually the stream that originally got me hooked into Pantheon. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's why it's the most important, but I know that there are a lot of other people that were in that same boat as me. This stream brought on a huge wave of new supporters, and really solidified the game as one of the most anticipated MMOs in development. The devs have since talked about how nervous they originally were to reveal the game to the public in this stream, and any artist would understand how nerve-wracking it can be to unveil a project you've been working really hard on before it's actually done. They weren't really sure if it was too early or if people would love it or hate it, but they quickly realized that the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and that was really validating for them. Brad said that the whole team was kind of on a euphoric high after the stream. It really showed that they were on the right track, and that really inspired them to push on and pursue the vision they had for the game. They took a risk showing the game so early, but that risk really paid off. Well, there you have it, folks. That's my list of the top 5 most important Pantheon developer streams. If you agree or disagree with my list, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. And by the way, until I can stream Pantheon on Twitch again, I'm going to continue to work on really expanding my YouTube content for Pantheon. So make sure you subscribe right now for future videos. But until then, my name is Bazgrim, and thanks for watching.